Hello, everyone. This is going to be about the ethics assignment. So you can see that it's due March 30th with an automatic extension to April 1st. I like people to put down March 30th on their calendar, but if I hold that as a really hard and fast date, then I get inundated on the 29th and the 30th with people requesting just a couple more days for whatever reason. So put down the 30th on your calendar, and then if you end up needing to turn it in on the 1st, that's not a problem. I'll be starting grading. So it's the ethics assignment. So if we scroll down here a little bit, then we get to that ethics assignment. And if we open it up, you'll see that there is the ethics assignment and then your Turnitin box where you'll go ahead and submit it. So I'm going to open up and get a look at our ethics assignment here. It's a 100 points possible, so it's only 10% of the grade. So it's obviously an important part, but it's not an overly important part, right? The exams and the case study make up the majority of your grade. But this is, I think, one of my favorite assignments to read because when it's done well, it is absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about it is each of you is going to approach this homework assignment in a slightly different way. And it's going to be very intriguing what article you choose and how you go about presenting it. So the idea is that healthcare finance has many ethical dilemmas. So you're going to choose a newspaper article. You can choose whatever you would like, but it is important that the article has two sides because you're going to present one about 800 to 1,000 words per side from the viewpoint of that financial manager, and you're going to basically by saying this is the rationale that says that action X is correct, it's ethical, and here is the reasoning that makes it unethical. And you have to keep in mind that in healthcare, a lot of times people get upset with us because they think healthcare should be free, and they don't like the fact that people profit off of healthcare. For myself, that's in education, it's the same way. They're always like, well, don't you want me to be educated? Well, yes, I'd like you to be educated, but you also have to pay me for that. And part of it is that we never go to the guy that made the TV and say to him, you should give me the TV for free. Don't you think I should get entertainment? So when we think about products, we very rarely have people complain about having to pay for a product. I mean, they obviously might still be upset about the price of it, but it doesn't occur to them that they would get a product for free. But when it comes to service, there's a part of us that wants to get the service for free. And so the question is how do we provide the justification to back up that service? So part of the issue will be that you need to find an article. And one of the students, I've got a couple of students and they've worked on some of that, and I'm going to just show the articles that these two are already being used in this class. So the first one is an article that this person found at the New York Times, and it's looking at chain pharmacies and basically the chaos in the pharmacies. It's putting patients at risk. And if you scroll down and read the article, and it's a very interesting article, you've got the idea that a lot of these retail chains, there is a push to meet a lot of metrics, and so there's mistakes. On top of that, there's other types of situations that goes through. So the student was working on this one is talking about, the fact that some of these things that the chain pharmacies do are really positive, but then there are negative consequences. And so he or she is presenting it from that point of view of both it is ethical, their actions, and then the rationale that it's unethical. But again, let's go back and look. It's important that you recognize that it's from the viewpoint of the financial manager. So many people, where people tend to lose their points is one, they only do one side. That's the most common mistake. They do 800 words on one side, and then of course the highest score they can get is 50 points because they didn't do the other half. So they're at, they start with an F. So they don't do that. So that's obviously mistake number one. And mistake number two is that they don't do it from the point of view of a financial manager. They make it very political, or they maybe make it religious, or they maybe make it in sort of the ethos, like what I would think of as the golden rule. You should do this. We're trying to present this. You're going to be a manager, and you're going to be having to profit off of this, and you need to be able to understand the justification to provide somebody why you are charging them to save their life when they think you should just save their life for free. How do you explain to them why you've charged person A $500 and person B $700? When you go to Best Buy and you buy a TV and you say, well, this TV is 50 inches and this TV is 60 inches, so the 60-inch one is more expensive, they don't squabble over that, right? They expect that because they see it as a product and they can instantly see the product differences. But most of you are providing services. Services are much harder to show the differences. And so we get this problem where people don't always like to pay for it and they complain a lot. So this is step one of our, with the healthcare emphasis, of trying to get you to think of the ethical aspects within healthcare finance. Okay, the other article what student found, and she found in healthcare finance, is mortality rates in rural areas are higher than in urban settings, and there's three main reasons for it. And it goes through that. And so there's a really good discussion point. Like one of them is physician shortages in those rural areas. So there's a discussion, on one aspect, are the, how do we go about, why is that happening and what can be done to try to encourage the physicians to go there. Basically there's an ethical dilemma. Do we have a moral responsibility in the urban areas to go ahead and provide money to the rural areas to pay those physicians? So basically the local area pays the physician, but then they also receive a stipend elsewhere. There's a lot of different ways to think about it. And so what I want you to, and what I like about these two articles, why I showed you, is one is coming from healthcare finance. So it's going to be about healthcare finance, right? This is a New York Times, and it could be whatever you want it to be. It can be just a regular, any old news source, anything like that. I'm not so concerned with where you got the article. It just has to have that the issue is financial and that you can provide some type of justification on each side. I actually am willing to have quite a bit of leeway as you sort of discuss it from two sides, depending upon what that article is. But you need to be able to look at it from the point of view of CVS or Walgreens, and then from the point of view of the not CVS, not Walgreens. With the mortality rates in rural areas, you need to be able to look at it from the point of view of the rural citizens and then either maybe the urban citizens. So you're basically, you are thinking about healthcare finance in not just your own shoes, but in the shoes of the person you're talking to. And so that's a very important step of the critical thinking of how to apply it. Again, you'll see throughout this set of instructions, I keep talking about using finance, talk about profitability, project management, break even, cost of capital. We've done half of the class so far. So you've got half of those concepts under your belt. This isn't due for another month. So you've got lots of time and you'll be able to get into the next few units. So you can add in the various concepts. I try to do a quick review of econ concepts because some people, it's been a while since you had some of those, and it's nice sometimes to be able to have the terminology about different pricing and of cost shifting. So somewhere I provide that. You don't have to use those, but that's just there because it is of value to some students. And then notice that, as I say here, notice how many times I've mentioned this, that students don't write it on finance. It's because students ignore this warning and write an economic answer or a management answer or a political answer. They don't write it as a finance answer. And so keep in mind, I'm the one reading it, and I love capital budgeting, cash flows, break even, cost of capital, capital structure, working capital, financial statements, valuation, revenue, inventory. I love these things. I really do. I could read about them all day long, and I do. So that's what I'm looking for, and this is part of your application. So that I keep stressing that because that is a spot where students make their mistakes. The other reason that I like to do this ethics assignment is that it gets you writing, and for people who are really struggling with the case, it gets them going, and it also allows me to see if there's somebody that's going to really struggle on the case study. And so we've got a couple of weeks there as you're finishing up the case study to maybe touch base and kind of get that solved. Okay. It's time for the ethics mini case. It's time for you to go ahead and find that article and just think about it from both sides of finance. You're writing it from both sides. That is, again, the key idea. Okay, good luck.